and you don't look no better. You don't have no more joy in you. You didn't do this bad when you came the first few weeks after you got saved. So there ought to be something about him that ought to have you filled with joy. There ought to be something that makes you run in the house of God and say, I was glad when they said unto me, let us go into the house of the Lord. And somebody ought to be glad about coming in the house of the Lord. Somebody ought to be saying that he brought me out again. He delivered me. Somebody ought to be saying, you ought to try. He's all right. But we come in not knowing whether we want to rejoice. And I've never seen the like of so many church folks, so to speak, that's so intimidated about rejoicing in your God. I've never seen the like of so much of that. And we act like we're afraid, we are shy, we don't really know him, and we don't want nobody else to know that we know him. I don't care if you don't say amen. I'm going to keep telling the truth. And that's why, in case you don't know it, that's why from week to week, you're dying. From week to week, you're so despondent. Oh, God, I got to go and I got to get me another word. Well, you got enough down in you that something ought to come bubbling up to keep you lifted when you can't hear nobody say it. You ought to tell yourself something sometime. But our problem is, it's our divided minds. It's the two opinions that we got. And it's the two gods that we trying to serve. And it won't work. It won't work. You will never get happy until you fall in love with one of them. You got to fall in love with one. You can't serve God and Mammoth. You can't have God on one hand and then you're going to get the other God on the other hand. They don't go together. And it's going to keep you sad. It's going to keep you despondent. It's going to keep you depressed. And the joy of the Lord won't be your strength because you don't know which God it is. Somebody give God some praise in this house. I know why Joshua said what he did. He said, choose you this day who you going to serve. If God be God, serve him. But if Baal be God, you do what? You serve him. You got to make a choice. You got to do that because you will never have any real joy and come into the house of the Lord. You'll come in here looking bad, like you're depressed, under punishment, like somebody fixing to tell you something and you really don't want to hear it because you're too afraid they're going to tell you how you're living and how you got to change. And we as people basically don't like to change. We don't want change, especially when it's for better. Now, we'll go down as much as others will carry us down, but we don't like changes for better. That's what we don't mind changing. Notice when the new style and everything came in, and they start saying, okay, we're going to look like this now. Did nobody have no problem doing that? Old men, old women, young women, boys and girls alike. We jumped on the bandwagon. As long as it was taking us down. Long as it's taking us down, we don't have no problem with it. Because our very nature, when we came into this world, we had a downward nature. We were born under the nature of Adam, and that nature was downward. But now that you have come into the world, the Lord said, I want to give you a better way of life. I want to show you that down is not the way. Downward tendencies are not the way. But I want to raise you up. I want to lift you up and give you a good quality of life so that you won't have to be complaining and always having first one problem then another. He said, I'm going to show you how important it is for you to marry. So you won't have to be going around and just laying around with everything that come in town. The reason why I believe that so many things are happening today, especially with women, happening to your body, all kind of sicknesses and everything that's going on, because your body was never designed to take on all kind of sperms. Something's supposed to happen to tear down that body when you got this sperm, that sperm, this sperm, that sperm, and all that. The body wasn't designed to take that on. Amen. God didn't make you that way. So that's why all of these funny sicknesses and all of these conditions coming up now, because we have totally what? Violated everything that God said. And so we're wondering why all of the sicknesses and diseases, and first one thing and another is coming in the world. When you violate God's way, which is the better way, then you asking for the other way, which is downward. There is an answer. And then we have the audacity to rise up and say things like, why does God, if God's so wonderful, why does he let little babies suffer? Why does God let this happen? Why does he let that? Because you've been halted between two opinions. It ain't like you serving him. We mixed up in what we're serving. So you don't get the full package of the blessing when you're not serving the true and the living God. Why he let my grandma have this, and why he let my daddy go through that, and why he let because your daddy ain't living, your daddy living for the devil. So that's why God, you tie God's hand. And plus the fact, earth realm is where the devil calls his shots. That's why Jesus said, come to me, and I'm going to fix it so he can't have you at will. He can't do anything he wants to you. You got to want him so he can give you a better life. And everybody that does not live for him, you're going to have a raggedy life. It's going to be raunchy. Many people right now, you're under a curse because you never came to him and let that curse be lifted off of you. When you come to Jesus, you bypass the curse. Amen. You come into a new realm of living. Amen. So you are wondering, well, and many have the nerve to say, well, one thing about it, I don't want to go to no church. I don't want to hear that. And that's your problem. Can't nobody tell you nothing. Trying to give you a better way, but you don't want to hear it. Because that other God that you're serving got your mind so blocked in, you cannot receive truth or a better way. So you'd rather go ahead, and guess what? God will protect your right. He'll protect your right to go to hell. If you want to go there, he's not going to make you not go. If that's where you choose to go, that's why he said, I've set before you an open door. He said, now choose. I want you to know that I set before you life, and then I set death. Now, what I want you to do, watch this. He didn't say, I'm going to do it. You do it. You do it. You choose whether you want life or death. And just in case you're not that smart and you don't know what choice to make, I'll help you cheat on the test.